Well, you know it's a Tuesday when Tech Tuesdays are back here on Northwest Digital News. Harry Brelsford coming to us from SMB Nation, Kevin Hunter and Kyle Torgerson here at the broadcast desk. And we're going to talk to you guys today about cause marketing, and then we'll touch a little bit on this go-go flight internet. Well, let's start with cause marketing, Harry. Your thoughts?
All right. Well, last week I was in lovely Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Nice time of year to be down there, let me tell you, at the IT Expo conference. And let me just paint the picture of IT Expo. Then we'll get to what I saw there. And IT Expo is a long-running show. Every 6 months they have an edition. So East Coast, West Coast, typically LA and Florida. And Florida in the winter and LA in the summer. And it has its backgrounds in telephony or telecom, and it still is 90% Avaya and Cisco and Comcast and AT&T and so on. So it's not quite where I spend my day. But here's what I like, Kevin, is they have all these shows within a show. So they have little carved out sections of the trade show floor for managed services providers, the computer guy. They have a section of the floor for IoT, Internet of Things. They have blockchain. So, you know, the publisher based out of New Jersey, I got to give them credit because they're trying, right? They're trying to stay relevant, knowing that maybe telephone systems are not the most exciting topic in the world.
Yes.
Now, with that said, there are numerous takeaways, but the main one I want to talk about today is a client in the cloud space, so SureWeb out of Canada. I went by their booth. They're friends of the family over on my side of the aisle, and I went by and chatted with them. And they had a cause marketing approach to get traffic into the booth. So when you have a booth, you know, the old saying, Kevin, is we want to get you on our carpet. Right, whatever it takes, if it's the little peanut butter cups, if it's a prize drawing and a wheel where you win cash, whatever it takes to get you on the carpet and have a conversation. So what these Canadians did, and as you know, Canadians are very nice people, and what they did is they picked the cause Habitat for Humanity, which again I would offer as a neutral cause. We're going to talk about the type of causes out there, but everybody loves Habitat for Humanity. You know, you're building houses, and if you put your business card in their fishbowl, there we go.
Yep.
If you put their business card in there, your card in the bowl, they were donating $5 to Habitat for Humanity, and I did a piece on it. And first of all, they got good traffic. People responded and rewarded that altruism, that goodness, right?
Sure.
I think people want to wake up and feel good, at least at the start of the day. And number two, I got a couple readers to reply to my piece, and they said, you know, this is much better than just getting a drawing for an Amazon card. Right, like, you know, the old, that's kind of becoming a yawner, you know, an Amazon card, boring. And it's not like you got a $5 Amazon card, Kevin and Kyle. It was more that you would be entered into the drawing for the $100 Amazon card. And not exciting, exciting to get people on the carpet. So they had success. They had traffic. I covered it. When I go to these shows, gentlemen, I'm always looking for a little bit of a unique angle because a lot of the shows are very similar, and I haven't seen cause marketing in a while. And maybe I need to ask the obvious: is the definition cause marketing apparent to you two? Does that make sense? What we're trying to do here?
It certainly does to me. Yes, you're trying to combine a emotional or heartstrings or any other kind of attachment that somebody might have to anything. And then combining that with your interest in building your business and generating a profit. So it kind of combines those two things, and everybody gets that a business needs to make a profit, and that's why you're marketing. That's why you're advertising to begin with. But if you can be the promoter of good causes at the same time, I even think of kind of a cause marketing thing that a car dealer did. And you think of car dealers as not always having such great reputations in their community. Well, one dealer actually, they did it twice a month, I believe it was, but they invited all these different grocery outlets that had foods that they could no longer sell but were still acceptable to the public. And they brought in literally like a couple of semi-loads of food, and the dealership donated their detail department to distributing all this food out to the needy people. And on those days of the month that they did this thing, one of the grocery stores would come in and bring all these carts as well, and there were I'm exaggerating, but there were like miles of these lines of these people standing with carts, just as excited to go into this place and pick up their food. So great example of cause marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Now here, so I want to talk about the type of causes you might support. So what you're seeing is Habitat for Humanity. Again, I would offer it's a neutral cause. It's religious and politically acceptable, whatever, however we get there, people like Habitat for Humanity. I've seen a couple misfires. So you sometimes just have to check your ego at the door. If your faith is important to you, that's fine, but that can be problematic if you're using your faith to market your business. So I just want to caution you, the same with your political beliefs. It's great you participate in the system and you have strong feelings and you vote and all that, but you're not seeing that in the photo here at the SureWeb booth, right? That's correct. That's kind of your own personal. That's your that's your business. And then Kevin, another thing would be people who exploit natural events and tragedies. So, the proverbial earthquake or forest fire or whatever. Personally, I think you're kind of getting on the margin with that. And Kevin and Kyle, part of that is because there's so many hucksters. Whenever we have a natural disaster, your mobile phone blows up with fake phone calls trying to raise money. So you really want to be careful. I mean, Habitat for Humanity is fine, right? And I think you want to be careful about that. And then, the other thing would be to make sure you do as you say. Again, going back to the huckster category, there have been cases where people don't donate the money.
Right.
It's terrible. I don't even know how to put that simply, right? Virtue
signaling and then not following through. We see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
When you were mentioning the examples, Harry, of inappropriate things, I was reminded that not long ago, when we heard all this news, these reports in the news of this caravan that was coming to the southern border, and I was at an event where the person in their opening remarks starts talking about the caravan coming to the border, and literally people started getting up and leaving it was right in the beginning, and people were getting up and leaving because they're like, what the heck, you're going to start making this about, which technically, politics or whatever, but an example of an inappropriate, whatever it is you want to promote, but keep it to yourself. There's plenty of people in the audience with strongly differing opinions. So whatever it is your cause is that you're going to join with your marketing, Habitat for Humanity was actually a good example of not treading on people's toes at the same time.
Yeah, and maybe, two more thoughts. One would be back at SMB Nation in the early days of the recession, and this is sort of an important point, is that we moved our show 2009 through about 2012, we moved down to Las Vegas because we needed a little bit bigger audience. A couple of things. We kind of burned out Microsoft Redmond, and we just needed to shake it up. And Las Vegas, arguably the shows there were a little more recession-proof. And we moved the fall conference from SMB Nation down to Las Vegas, and we were doing a charity auction. And so here's how that works. And it's cause marketing at the end of the day, but the idea was that all the vendors would donate hardware or software. So if you can imagine Lenovo, my friend and hopefully yours, but they donated a laptop. Right. I
Sure.
mean, so everybody put something out on the tables, and you walked around and did a silent auction. And that money went to charity. I think it went to the Dominican Republic for schools, something. And there was a lady that ran that, and then she of course had to take a cut, right? I mean, which is fair. If she raised $10,000, there's a certain ratio of what would the fee be to make that happen, right? I mean, she needed to get paid, and I'm going to say
Exactly.
it's probably 25%. And again, in the world of not for profit, right? People have to get a paycheck, and I liked it personally, and we did it a few years until it kind of played out, right? These themes get a little bit stale. However, I would share with you, gentlemen, that there were a couple of cantankerous audience members that were really keen on seeing what were our expenses relative to what we raised. Because apparently in the world of not-for-profits, there is abuse, right? Like you hold a silent auction, you raise $10,000 and you pay yourself $9,000, and only $1,000 gets to the actual cause. And I get that, but gentlemen, that's kind of why we only did it like 2 or 3 years, because it was like running a show with 500 attendees and 100 vendors. It was a little bit like, I don't have bandwidth for that. I mean, my heart's in the right place. I'm trying to do good, but, I'm trying to run a show here.
Yeah.
I would offer, do that once. Listeners to the show who maybe have some external activity, do it once. That's okay. You don't have to do it every year. And I think I think that's kind of where we landed with the cause marketing. I like it. You get a halo effect, and it rounds out dialing for dollars and smiling and dialing and the traditional sales motion. This is a little bit like a counterbalance to dialing and smiling.
This is a kind of a go-between cause marketing and just marketing in general. But I often advise people that if your marketing that you're doing, your advertising that you're doing, if it evokes no emotion whatsoever out of people, that you're probably not going to inspire people to engage with you in some shape or form. So you can use it. You can use a cause, but you can also use other things that, if you think about people's frustrations, as it pertains to a given kind of product or service or whatever. Those are always things worthy of investigating a little bit, because your marketing messages will always be stronger if you find a way to evoke those human emotions. And of course, cause marketing is just one example of doing that. You mentioned earlier the IoT, and for our viewing audience that's not familiar, this stands for Internet of Things. But our role of our Tech Tuesday here also has an IoT aspect, which helps our viewers with their ignorance of technology. So that's our IoT.
There you go.
All right, so let's talk.
It.
Yeah, let's talk about the GoGo Flight Internet. You have used this. So I'm going to give you an opportunity, and you actually wrote a blog about this. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to visit about it. I've used some of the various internet services that are available on planes for the regular traveler, with very mixed reviews. I had not used GoGo Internet. You have. Talk about your experiences with it.
Well, let's start from yesterday. Flew back from Fort Lauderdale, the aforementioned conference, and 7-hour flight. Guess we had headwinds, and then, gentlemen, about 90 minutes on the tarmac in Seattle because of the snow. So it was a long day, and I'm trying to get some work done. And I did not use GoGo Internet yesterday, and up until this last month, I had been on the $49 a month recurring revenue charge. I fly enough, it made sense to pay $49 a month on Alaska instead of between $29 and $39 a day or per flight. And so that made sense. But here's what I have experienced in recent times is that the latency, so the response when I want to do something, and then the session maintenance are unacceptable. I don't know what happened to GoGo, but it slowed way down, and then it and so that would be the latency. I mean, it's literally hard to work with a cloud program when you're hourglassing, when there's too much time in between, the keystroke. And then the other thing would have been with the session maintenance. So doggone it, guys, what you had to do is you had to go over here to your browser, hit Control R, and reestablish the session like you're logging on.
Right.
And so, that, and it was like every time I wanted to do something, like send an email or get a file. So, I'm now about go, no go, or no, because it's too frustrating. I notice $50 a month. I notice $39 a flight, $29 a flight. Let me put a wrapper on that, when it started out, first of all, it was far cheaper. I think they were trying to build up audience. Second of all, the latency and the speed weren't an issue. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if everybody on the plane's using the little pipe, the little connection, and that slowed it down.
Filling up the funnel.
Yep. And then the third thing was, back in the day, they had corporate sponsors. And so you would have to, like YouTube, you'd have to tolerate an advertisement for Mercedes-Benz, but then you got free internet for the flight. And I'm like, woohoo! Now we're talking. That all changed, and so I just had a bad hairy day, and I wrote this up overnight and kicked it out. That's a screenshot from yesterday of the cost, and so I'm just going to go cold turkey. And at the bottom of the blog, you'll see I have some observations about. Maybe I should be using the flight to read or relax or focus. That doggone it, guys, that's what we used to do on planes, was read a darn book. So that's my story.
You know what? Maybe it's just a different approach to all of this, but I experience those same frustrations with the technologies available on planes and while you're out traveling, and because more of it's a different situation for you, Harry, because so much of your travel is business related. A lot of I'll mix business stuff with my travel, but most of my travel does end up being travel that I'm doing for myself or with my family, etc. And so I go to the other extreme. I shut my phones off. I shut off all my connections with the outside world, and I just go enjoy myself. And it's pretty much that's it. That's it entirely. And so there's been I have noticed. I had one person one time. I'm sitting in an airport and I'm just relaxing, enjoying myself, having a good time. And he's going from one phone call to the next, to the next, to the next. The whole time he's sitting there, and then gets up, goes on the plane. He's expressing some frustrations. Sitting kind of across the kitty corner, across the aisle from me, but having these frustrations with either connectivity or whatever. But he's mentioning that a few times, and I can tell he's pretty high strung. Later, we're out. I end up running into him in one of these. We're on the same flight with the same layover, and we're at this location where I notice him again, and there he's sitting, just working away. And he made some kind of comment to me. I don't even remember what it was, but it made me say, well, I'm off the electronic leash today. And I just, and he kind of looked at me like, what do you say? I was like, I'm off the electronic leash today. So I'm just out here having a good time. And so that's maybe one way to use the flight.
Each to their own. Now I'll end on this, and I mentioned it in the blog. Now to, I guess, GoGo's credit or Alaska Airlines credit, they do allow the free messaging with Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or a couple of supported tools. And so I do have an understanding with my staff, with my family, that I'll be on Facebook Messenger, right? Like if, the feathers hit the fan, if the feathers hit the fan and you need a decision, we can certainly use Messenger, or you can get the half hour for $8.50, right? So that's another consideration, is get a lot of work done, log on at midpoint, get your 30 minutes to do send and receive, or technically what we call store and forward with email. And you're connected for a fraction of the price to make it so.
So one other suggestion that I'd have for people who want to be able to communicate with the outside world while on a plane, and I've noticed this with various professional people who travel around me and have been on flights, or I'm picking them up or dropping them off, or all these different things going on. I have always been able to communicate with somebody sitting on an airplane if they're using WhatsApp.
Interesting.
So think about that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I can't top that one, my friend.
In fact, in an area that generally there's no communication whatsoever, the latest one was just picking up a colleague from the airport, and he was 10 minutes before landing, so that far out. Generally, when everything's shut down and they're jamming all these signals and whatever else, and he messaged me that he was, they were on their descent, and the message immediately came to my phone. I fired a thing back for him, that I'd be out at the front curve at such and such time, and he messaged me back immediately as well. It was just like he was texting from inside the airport and doing it on WhatsApp.
There you have it. Well, gentlemen, the next time I see you, I'm going to be down in wonderful San Francisco at IBM Think next week. So I'm really looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to it as well. All right, well, we'll have a great show coming up for you next week here on Tech Tuesday, as you just heard. Thanks, Harry, for joining us here on this broadcast. Great information on cause marketing, and not so great information on GoGo Flight Internet, but whatever your pleasure is on your next flight. Harry Brelsford from SMB Nation, Kevin Hunter here at the broadcast desk, and Kyle Torgerson making all the tech happen here on the broadcast. Thanks to everybody joining us. Kyle, take us out of here.
This concludes today's live programming on Northwest Digital News. Thanks for joining us for this special broadcast. Heard around the world in more than 70 countries on YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, Facebook, and Twitch TV. If you enjoyed a story or guest we had here on Northwest Digital News and would like to strut your stuff on the broadcast, email us today at wainfo2017@gmail.com or call or text to 360-545-3501. We're always interested in unique stories, topics, and guests to share with our worldwide audience. Before you go, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and comment on the live stream. And for those of you who'd like to financially support the broadcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Northwest Digital News. We thank you for your patronage. On behalf of Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson, Stephanie Hunter, and all the people that made this broadcast possible, I'm Kevin Hunter. Till next time, take care.